Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a massive, high-stakes challenge for executives. Why organizations absolutely cannot afford to just sit back and wait for a regulatory crisis to hit before they take action. We're going to unpack the undeniable strategic value of proactive public affairs, compare it to the dangerous trap of reactive crisis management, and really focus in on how to build rock-solid digital authority. So ask yourself, what is the actual, tangible cost when institutional truth is just left to the mercy of breaking news and algorithmic volatility? Think about it. When an organization waits to engage until after the negative headlines drop, they've already lost control of the narrative. Waiting too long essentially just hands the reins right over to external forces and third-party critics. Okay, here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 5 key areas: the regulatory risk reality, the reactive crisis trap, proactive stakeholder engagement, building digital authority, and finally, measuring institutional credibility. Let's jump in. All right, Section 1, the regulatory risk reality and exactly why organizations cannot afford to wait. Picture a split-screen reality for today's leadership teams. On one side, you have a proactive strategy. You're looking at a stable reputation, high trust, and incredibly strong organic search visibility. But on the reactive side, it's frantic executives sweating over breaking news, intense media pressure, and sudden, severe reputation loss. The contrast between building that steady, organic trust versus scrambling to put out high-pressure fires, well, it literally couldn't be clearer. Moving on to Section 2, the reactive crisis trap, which is basically the illusion of short-term narrative management. The crucial thing to understand here is that reactive media visibility is inherently episodic. It's all about scrambling to push out press releases, rapid response content, and urgent statements, but only after a negative narrative has already taken hold. It's kind of like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. You get these heavy, but ultimately short-lived, spikes in visibility. And the life cycle of this strategy is brutal. Days 1 and 2, sure, you see rapid visibility growth as your crisis response hits the wire. By days 3 to 5, maybe you're throwing money at paid amplification to force a sentiment shift. But then we hit week 2, and boom, a rapid drop. Search algorithms are smart. They quickly deprioritize these inorganic spikes the second engagement normalizes, leaving you right back where you started. Or honestly, even worse off. Here is the truly wild part. Relying on these reactive tactics actually increases your systemic risk. Reactive visibility might give you a fleeting blip on the search engine results page, or SERP, but that inconsistent messaging seriously damages your long-term credibility. And those amplified tactics? Algorithms are literally built to detect inorganic spikes, so your quick PR fix could actually trigger content suppression by the platforms themselves, completely clearing the stage for your critics. That brings us to Section 3, proactive stakeholder engagement, and how we go about securing a sustainable content ecosystem. So, what's the alternative to the crisis trap? It's proactive stakeholder engagement. This is a highly systematic approach to influence. We're talking about building real relationships, mapping out your influence networks, and delivering targeted policy evidence long before anyone writes a negative headline. It's fixing the roof while the sun is still shining. It builds step by step, almost like a staircase. First, you engage the right stakeholders. Second, you start producing evidence-based policy briefs. Third, search engines index this content and begin recognizing it as highly authoritative. And finally, that all culminates in durable institutional trust. You are methodically turning good relationships and solid evidence into a digital fortress. It is a complete night and day difference. Organic communication relies on authoritative content and topical hubs to build cumulative trust over time. It's an enduring asset. Reactive amplification, on the other hand, leans on paid reach and aggressive social seeding just for an immediate sentiment shift. One strategy builds a foundation. The other is basically just renting temporary and very fragile space on the internet. When you put the work in early and front-load your proactive engagement, the payoff is massive. Stakeholder trust becomes incredibly durable and scalable. Your search ranking influence actually accumulates positive reputation signals continuously. And the real game changer? Your long-term risk exposure plummets, giving your organization a serious buffer of resilience against any future regulatory attacks. All right, Section 4, building digital authority. Let's break down how algorithms actually evaluate institutional truth. You have to understand this vital concept: entity credibility. Search platforms measure this by combining on-page signals, like transparent authorship, with off-page signals, like authoritative backlinks. They also track consistent behavioral engagement. Are people actually staying on your page and coming back? It's a comprehensive algorithmic background check to prove you are exactly who you say you are. And this right here is the aha moment for executives. Algorithms do not read the room like a human scrolling through a viral Twitter thread. They fundamentally favor consistent, corroborated, and reproducible content over sudden, inorganic bursts of PR noise. If you want to win the algorithmic long game, authenticity and sustained patterns are absolutely crucial. So how do you actually feed this algorithm? You make strategic investments in long-term credibility inputs. Publish those corporate governance policies. Get your annual and ESG reports out there. Lean into academic partnerships. These are the exact things that generate cross-domain policy citations and durable backlinks. That's the fuel search ecosystems use to stabilize your digital footprint. Finally, Section 5, Measuring Institutional Credibility, how we use dashboards and measure risk exposure. How do we track all this? You need a seriously sophisticated measurement dashboard. You have to combine temporal trends like sentiment analysis with deep structural metrics. We're talking SERP composition monitoring, tracking backlink growth, and watching your citation velocity. You have to measure not just how visible your narrative is today, but the actual underlying structural strength of your trust. This is a real eye-opener. Over-relying on reactive amplification doesn't just fail to help, it dramatically spikes your long-term risk. It's high risk because it completely lacks durable backlink formation and practically invites platform moderation. But look at stable, proactive engagement. It sits firmly in the low-risk category, acting as an insulating layer for the entire institution. The big takeaway for measurement: don't get distracted by vanity metrics. Organizations have got to integrate robust frameworks that evaluate true signal persistence. You must link your behavioral metrics directly to actual stakeholder trust. If your system conflates a temporary spike in reach with real, durable credibility, you are flying blind. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. When the next major regulatory shift happens, and trust me, it will happen, will your organization's digital footprint reflect durable, scalable authority, or will it just be the fleeting echoes of yesterday's crisis management? The choice is entirely up to you.